welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. Observatory Emergency Log Number 001. Date: March 15, 2025. Time: 6:47 a.m. Local. Observer: Dr. Cairo Van, Senior Night Shift Astronomer. Status: anomalous conditions. Protocol deviation required ****. My grandmother used to say the stars never lie, only people misread them. Nanny would have found today's readings fascinating and deeply troubling. I'm recording this log because standard protocols don't cover what I'm observing. The chronometer on the main console reads 6:47 a.m. Dawn should have broken 47 minutes ago. Instead, I'm staring at a sky that maintains perfect midnight star configuration while my equipment insists we're well into morning civil twilight. The Riverside Municipal Observatory sits on the hill overlooking downtown, and from my position in the control room, I should be watching the city wake up under natural sunlight. Instead, the streetlights are still blazing, creating harsh pools of yellow that make the darkness between them seem absolute. The coffee in my thermos has gone cold, unusual for me. In 12 years of night shifts, I've never let coffee go cold. Let me establish the facts systematically. Equipment status: all primary instruments functioning within normal parameters. The 16-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope completed its automated tracking sequence at 5:23 a.m., following Vega's descent toward the western horizon precisely as calculated. Atmospheric monitoring sensors report normal humidity, temperature, and pressure readings. No cloud cover. Visibility unlimited. Astronomical calculations: sunrise for March 15th at our coordinates, 41.2 degrees north, 81.7 degrees west, should occur at 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I've verified the calculations 3 times using different databases. The Earth's rotation rate remains constant at 15.04 degrees per hour. Our orbital position matches all ephemeris predictions. Observational reality: the sun has not appeared. More specifically, the eastern horizon shows no pre-dawn brightening, no zodiacal light, no atmospheric scattering effects that precede sunrise. The star Arcturus remains clearly visible in the eastern sky where it should have been washed out by dawn's approach 20 minutes ago. Something is fundamentally wrong. I've initiated communication protocols with the International Astronomical Union's emergency network. The system is slow to respond, unusual for a Tuesday morning. While waiting, I'm reviewing the night's observations for any anomalies I might have missed. 23:15 routine observation: Jupiter and Saturn conjunction progressing as predicted. Atmospheric seeing excellent, 8 out of 10 on the Pickering scale. 1:30 standard measurement: Vega's position logged. Right ascension and declination exactly where they should be. 3:45 first anomaly noted: background radiation sensors detecting slight increase in cosmic ray flux. Dismissed as equipment sensitivity fluctuation. 4:20 anomaly: local bird population silent. No dawn chorus beginning, which typically starts 30 to 45 minutes before sunrise. 5:15 third anomaly: downtown emergency vehicle sirens increasing in frequency. Police helicopter circling city center for past 20 minutes. The pieces form a pattern I don't want to acknowledge. My phone buzzes, a text from Elvira Quill, head of atmospheric sciences at the university. She should be off duty, sleeping after yesterday's storm tracking work. Instead, Cairo, you seeing this? Atmospheric models show we should be in full daylight. Pressure systems normal. What's your stellar reading? Before I can respond, the control room door swings open. Elvira herself stands in the doorway, still wearing yesterday's field clothes, her usually perfect ponytail disheveled. Behind her glasses, her eyes show the kind of focused intensity one recognizes from severe weather emergencies. "The sun didn't rise," she says without preamble. "It's not a question. Equipment malfunction," I reply automatically, though we both know our instruments don't lie about celestial mechanics. "Has to be." She crosses to the atmospheric monitoring station, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with practiced efficiency. Ground temperature holding steady at 52 degrees. No solar heating input for the past hour. Humidity stable. No weather systems that could cause extended darkness. She looks up at me. "Cairo, I've been tracking atmospheric conditions for 15 years. This isn't weather." The IAU network finally responds with a cascade of alerts flooding my screen. Priority alert: Greenwich Observatory sunrise failure reported. All instruments nominal. Priority alert: Mauna Kea, dawn conditions absent. Seeking confirmation. Priority alert: Arecibo replacement facility, solar tracking error, position unknown. Priority alert: European Southern Observatory, requesting all stations confirmation, solar position. My hands are shaking as I type the response. Riverside Municipal Observatory confirms. Solar dawn failure. Star positions nominal. Earth rotation nominal. Sun position unknown. Elvira reads over my shoulder. "It's global," she whispers. The coffee mug slips from my nerveless fingers, shattering against the control room floor. In the spreading puddle, the emergency lighting reflects like tiny stars, a miniature constellation born from catastrophe. Through the observatory's main window, downtown Riverside continues its confused morning routine. Traffic lights cycle through their patterns, street lights burn at full power, and somewhere in the distance, church bells chime 7 o'clock. But above us, the cosmos maintains its midnight configuration with stubborn precision. Elvira's radio crackles with incoming transmissions from the Emergency Management Agency. Fragments of panicked communication drift through the static. Reports of mass confusion downtown, hospital emergency rooms filling with anxiety cases, requesting all available atmospheric specialists. "They'll want answers," Elvira says, adjusting her radio's frequency. I stare at the scrolling list of global observatory reports, each one confirming the impossible. "I don't have answers. I have observations that defy physics." "Then we better find some physics that work," she replies, pulling out her laptop. "Because in about 3 hours, the morning shift workers are going to realize this isn't just a delayed sunrise. This is something else entirely." The chronometer now reads 7:23 a.m. The sun should have risen 2 hours ago. Every calculation confirms our position, our timing, our equipment functionality. But outside, the stars haven't moved from their midnight positions, and the eastern horizon remains as dark as the moment I began this shift 9 hours ago. I'm sealing this log and beginning comprehensive system diagnostics. If our instruments are correct, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, then somewhere in the last 8 hours, the fundamental nature of our solar system has changed. The stars never lie, Nanny used to say. Today, I'm afraid they're telling us a truth we're not prepared to hear. End log number 001. Next scheduled observation. Continuous monitoring initiated. Status. Emergency protocols activated. Recommendation. Prepare for extended anomalous conditions. Personal note. Called mom to check on her. She's worried but safe. The neighborhood dogs haven't stopped howling since dawn time passed. Even the animals know something's wrong. Observatory emergency log number 002. Date: March 15, 2025. Time: 9:15 a.m. local. Expected sunrise plus 4 hours, 15 minutes ***. Observer: Dr. Cairo Van, with Dr. Elvira Quill, Atmospheric Sciences, ***. Status: all systems nominal. External reality non-compliant ***. The parking lot outside the observatory now resembles a disaster command center. 3 emergency vehicles, 2 news vans, and a growing collection of personal cars belonging to city officials who should be at their morning meetings instead of staring at a sky that refuses to acknowledge the passage of time. Elvira has commandeered the atmospheric monitoring station, running every diagnostic protocol in her repertoire. The results scroll across her screen in neat, orderly columns that mock the chaos building outside our windows. Atmospheric pressure, 30.12 inches of mercury, steady. Temperature gradient normal for pre-dawn conditions, except we should be 3 hours past dawn. Humidity consistent with March patterns. Air quality index optimal. She looks up from her readings, frustration creeping into her usually controlled voice. Cairo, the atmosphere is behaving exactly as it should for nighttime conditions. It's like the Earth doesn't know the sun is supposed to be up. I've spent the last 90 minutes performing the most comprehensive equipment check of my career. Every component, every sensor, every calculation method we have. Primary telescope alignment, perfect. Tracking system following stellar motion with arcsecond precision. Atomic clock synchronization, verified against NIST signal. Time-keeping accurate to nanoseconds. GPS positional data, coordinates confirmed to within 3 meters. Earth's rotation rate, nominal. Spectrographic equipment, all wavelength sensors functioning within specifications. Computer systems, no errors, no corrupted data, no processing anomalies. The equipment is fine. Reality is what's malfunctioning. My phone has been ringing continuously for the past hour. Dr. Chun from Harvard called at 8:30. Their observations match ours exactly. Dr. Rodriguez from the University of Texas reports identical conditions. The call from Dr. Petrov at Pulkovo Observatory in Russia carried an edge of panic I've never heard in his voice. Cairo, my friend, in 40 years of astronomy, I have never seen the cosmos simply refuse to cooperate. The most disturbing call came from my colleague Dr. Sarah Mitchell at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. "It's not just the sun," she said, her voice tight with strain. "The stellar magnitude readings are wrong. Stars that should be washed out by dawn light are appearing brighter than they should be, even for nighttime viewing. It's like the entire sky is concentrated." Elvira's radio crackles with another transmission from downtown. "All units, be advised. Emergency management requesting all available atmospheric and astronomical specialists report to City Hall. Priority Alpha protocols in effect." Through the control room window, I watch a black SUV navigate between the emergency vehicles in our parking lot. The driver parks with the practiced efficiency of someone accustomed to crisis situations. A tall man in a dark coat emerges, surveys the organized chaos with sharp eyes, and heads directly for our entrance. "That's Torrick Lane," Elvira says, following my gaze. "City Emergency Coordinator." He only shows up personally when the situation is beyond normal protocols. Torrick Lane enters our control room like a man who's used to having answers and is deeply uncomfortable with their absence. His coat bears the damp chill of extended outdoor exposure, and his usually immaculate appearance shows signs of a very long morning. "Dr. Wann, Dr. Quill." His voice carries the controlled tension of someone managing multiple crises simultaneously. "I need to understand what we're dealing with. The mayor's office has been fielding calls for 3 hours. School districts want to know if they should open. The hospital reports increased anxiety-related admissions. Downtown traffic is snarled because half the population doesn't know if they should be going to work." He pauses at the main observation window, staring out at the impossible sky. "I've coordinated responses to ice storms, tornadoes, and infrastructure failures. I've never had to manage a situation where basic astronomical reality stopped functioning. The equipment confirms what we're observing," I tell him. "Every instrument, every calculation, every measurement we can make says the Earth is exactly where it should be, rotating exactly as it should, at exactly the right time for sunrise. But the sun." I gesture helplessly at the eastern horizon, where Arcturus continues to shine in defiant visibility. Torix radio squawks with overlapping transmissions. Unit 47 reporting power grid strain from extended lighting systems. Domestic animal distress calls increasing. Traffic control requesting guidance on whether to maintain normal signal timing. Hospital administrator requesting psychological crisis protocols. He adjusts the volume down but doesn't turn it off. Dr. Quill, in your professional opinion, how long can infrastructure systems handle extended nighttime power demands? Elvira pulls up city utility data on her laptop. Normally, dawn reduces electrical load by approximately 30% as streetlights shut off and building systems adjust to natural light. If we're maintaining full nighttime power consumption indefinitely, she pauses, running calculations. The grid can handle it for maybe 48 to 72 hours before we start seeing rolling blackouts to manage load. And plant systems? Torrik continues his methodical assessment. Photosynthesis requires solar radiation. If this extends beyond 24 hours, we'll start seeing vegetation stress. Beyond 48 hours, ecosystem disruption becomes significant. Her fingers dance across the keyboard, pulling up agricultural monitoring data. Greenhouse operations will switch to artificial lighting, but outdoor crops, urban vegetation, oxygen production cycles. She doesn't finish the sentence. We all understand the implications. Torik's phone buzzes with an incoming call. He glances at the display and his jaw tightens. Mayor's office. They want an estimate for how long this will last. I look at the scrolling data from observatories worldwide, each one reporting the same impossible phenomenon. Torrik, I've been studying stellar mechanics for 15 years. I can predict eclipses, planetary transits, and comet orbits decades in advance. But what we're observing, I pause, searching for words that won't sound completely insane. This doesn't fit any known astronomical model. The sun should be exactly where we can observe it. Every natural law says it should be there. But it's not there, he says flatly. No, it's not there. Elvira's atmospheric monitoring equipment emits a soft chime, an alert tone I recognize but have rarely heard. She checks the readings and her face goes pale. What is it? Torrik asks. Atmospheric oxygen levels, she says slowly. They're dropping. Barely measurable yet, maybe 0.02%, but it's a consistent downward trend. She looks up at us. Plants have been in darkness for over 4 hours now. They're not producing oxygen. They're only consuming it. The control room falls silent except for the steady hum of equipment and the distant sound of sirens from downtown. Through the radio static, fragments of confused communication continue. Emergency responders trying to coordinate responses to a crisis that defies categorization. Torrik ends his call with the mayor's office and looks directly at me. Dr. Van, I need you to give me something I can work with, even if it sounds impossible, even if it contradicts everything we know about how the universe works. What are we dealing with? I stare at the star charts displayed on my monitor, at the precise celestial mechanics that govern our solar system, at the inexorable laws of physics that have never failed to predict astronomical reality. Until today, we're dealing with something that shouldn't be possible, I admit. And I'm afraid that might be exactly the point. Torik's radio crackles with a new transmission, the voice tight with barely controlled panic. All units, be advised. Reports coming in from emergency management offices across the country. Phoenix, Denver, Atlanta, New York, all reporting identical conditions. This is nationwide. Repeat, whatever this is, it's nationwide. Through the observatory's eastern window, I watch the stars maintain their midnight configuration with stubborn precision. For hours and 15 minutes past sunrise, and the cosmos continues to ignore our expectations with what I'm beginning to recognize as deliberate intent. The universe has changed its rules, and we're running out of time to figure out why. End log number 002. Next observation. Continuous monitoring, expanding scope to global coordination. Status. Anomalous conditions confirmed worldwide. Resource alert. Power grid strain projected within 48 to 72 hours. Personal note, tried to call mom again. Line was busy. The radio reports say phone systems are overloaded. Whatever this is, everyone's trying to reach someone. Observatory emergency log number 003. Date, March 15, 2025. Time, 12 p.m. local. Expected sunrise plus 7 hours. ***. Observer, Dr. Cairo Van, Senior Night Shift Astronomer. Status, Global Astronomical Crisis confirmed ***. The control room has become mission control for something we don't have a mission manual for. 3 laptops crowd the main console, their screens glowing with data streams from observatories across 6 continents. Elvira sits cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by atmospheric printouts, her hair escaping its ponytail in frustrated wisps. The emergency cot from the break room now serves as a makeshift desk for our newest team member. Dr. Navarra Sage arrived an hour ago with an armload of books that smell like dust and centuries. As the city's cultural anthropologist, she wasn't someone I expected to see during an astronomical crisis. Her dark eyes scan ancient texts with the same intensity Elvira brings to weather data, and her presence has shifted our scientific discussion into uncomfortable territory. The Babylonian Astronomical Diaries, Navarra says without looking up from a leather-bound volume, describe a period around 687 BCE when Shamash failed to rise for 3 days, and the people made great sacrifice to restore the light. She adjusts her reading glasses. Similar accounts appear in Chinese dynastic records, Mayan codices, and Norse sagas. Always the same pattern: sudden solar failure, followed by civilizational collapse. I want to dismiss her historical correlations, but the data streaming across my screens makes that impossible. 12:03 p.m. Tokyo Observatory. Solar tracking systems report target acquisition failure. Sun not at predicted coordinates. Stellar positions nominal. 12:05 p.m. European Southern Observatory. Confirming global reports. Solar radiation detectors show 0 input. All other celestial objects tracking normally. 12:07 p.m. Mauna Kea. Hawaiian island chain reporting identical conditions. Tourist evacuation in progress. Military assets mobilizing. 12:09 p.m. Arecibo Replacement Facility. Radio telescope sweeps detecting no solar radio emissions from expected position. Attempting wide area search pattern. The pattern is global, simultaneous, and completely unprecedented in recorded history. It's not equipment failure, Elvira announces, looking up from her atmospheric calculations. I've run the models 17 different ways. Earth's rotation hasn't stopped. We're getting normal Coriolis effects, wind patterns, ocean currents. But we're receiving 0 solar energy input. She pauses, chewing her pencil. It's like someone reached up and just moved the sun. That's gravitationally impossible, I reply automatically. So is everything else we're observing, she counters. Through the observatory's main window, downtown Riverside has taken on a surreal quality. Traffic lights cycle through their patterns while streetlights burn at full intensity. Office buildings glow like geometric constellations against the star-filled sky. People move differently, faster, more urgent, constantly looking upward as if willing the sun to appear through pure determination. My phone buzzes with an incoming call from Dr. Helena Vasquez at the International Astronomical Union headquarters in Paris. I activate the speakerphone. Cairo, thank God you're responding. Helena's voice carries the strain of someone who hasn't slept. We've got confirmation from 847 observatories worldwide. The phenomenon is universal and instantaneous. No gradual onset, no partial effects. At exactly 23:47 Universal Time coordinated yesterday, every solar tracking system on Earth lost target acquisition simultaneously. Equipment synchronization error? I ask, though I know the answer. Negative. We've verified with manual observations using sextants, sundials, even shadow stick measurements. The sun simply isn't where our orbital mechanics say it should be. More disturbing, it isn't anywhere our wide area searches can locate. Navarra looks up from her texts. Dr. Vasquez, this is Dr. Sage, Cultural Anthropology. What's the international political response? Mass panic in major population centers. Religious gatherings forming in every major city. Several governments have declared martial law. The Vatican has called an emergency conclave. And Helena's voice drops. We're getting reports of coordinated ritual activities. Large groups performing synchronized ceremonies in multiple locations. What kind of rituals? Navarra asks, her voice sharp with sudden interest. That's outside my expertise, but intelligence agencies are tracking gatherings in remote locations worldwide. Stone circles, ancient temples, even modern constructions built on old sacred sites, all showing similar activity patterns. I watch Navarra's face as she processes this information. Something in her expression makes my stomach clench. Dr. Vasquez, Navarra says carefully, are these gatherings showing any astronomical alignments? Specifically oriented toward specific star patterns. How did you, yes, preliminary reports suggest alignment with, hold on. Papers rustle over the connection. Constellation Draco. The gatherings are all oriented toward the Dragon constellation. Navarra goes pale. She flips rapidly through the ancient text in her lap, her fingers tracing symbols I can't read. Cairo, I need to see your stellar tracking data. Specifically Draco's position relative to the missing solar coordinates. I reluctantly pull up the star charts. Draco sprawls across the northern sky in its typical serpentine pattern, but as I overlay the predicted solar position, Christ, I whisper, the sun should be positioned directly in the center of Draco's coils. If it were visible, it would appear to be held in the constellation's celestial embrace. The ritual isn't trying to bring the sun back, Navarra says quietly. It's trying to keep it captured. These aren't desperate people seeking help. They're participants in whatever caused this. Elvira stops typing. You're suggesting this is intentional? That someone stole the sun? Not someone, Navarra replies, turning the ancient book toward us. The page shows a detailed illustration of a serpentine figure wrapped around a solar disk, surrounded by human figures in ceremonial poses. Something. And according to these texts, the capture is only the first phase. My radio crackles with an emergency broadcast. All astronomical facilities. This is NOAA emergency coordination. Be advised. Plant photosynthesis failure detected in agricultural regions worldwide. Oxygen production dropping measurably. Estimated breathable atmosphere sustainability without solar input. 72 to 96 hours for global population. The room falls silent except for the humming of equipment and the distant sound of emergency sirens that haven't stopped since dawn time passed. So we have 3 days, Elvira says. To do what? Ask. Navarra closes the ancient text carefully. To figure out how to steal back the sun before the people who took it complete whatever they're really planning. She looks at each of us in turn. Because according to every historical account I've found, the civilizations that experienced this never got their sun back. They just ended. Through the window, I watch a group of people gathering in the observatory parking lot. They're arranging themselves in a circle, all facing north toward Draco. Their synchronized movements look disturbingly familiar from Navarra's historical illustrations. The ritual sites Dr. Vasquez mentioned. I say slowly. How far is the nearest one from here? Navarra pulls out her phone, consulting a map application. Stone Creek Ancient Earthworks, 47 miles northeast. Pre-Columbian construction, aligned with... Oh, she looks up at me. Aligned with Draco's position during the spring equinox, which is in 5 days, Elvira adds quietly. My grandmother's voice echoes in my memory. The stars never lie, Beta. But sometimes they tell truths that will break your heart. I think we're about to discover just how much truth a heart can hold. End log number 003. Status. Global crisis confirmed. Supernatural elements probable. Recommendation. Prepare for non-conventional threat response. Next priority, investigation of local ritual site activity. Personal note, called Mom again. She says the neighborhood prayer group is meeting tonight to help bring back the sun. When I asked where they were meeting, she mentioned Stone Creek. I didn't have the heart to tell her what we suspect about those gatherings. Observatory emergency log number 012. Time, 1600 hours. Expected sunrise plus 11 hours. Observer, Dr. Cairo Van. Status, critical systems failure imminent ****. The power grid is dying. I can hear it in the way the observatory's main computers cycle through their startup sequences every few minutes. Brownouts causing system resets that shouldn't be happening with our dedicated line from the municipal power station. The fluorescent lights in the control room flicker with increasing frequency, casting unstable shadows that make everything feel like we're living inside a broken film reel. Elvira stands at the atmospheric monitoring station, her face pale in the harsh artificial light. Oxygen levels dropping, she announces, her voice tight with professional control barely containing panic. Not dramatically, but consistently. The city's plants have been without photosynthesis for 11 hours now. We're starting to see measurable impact on air composition. Through the observatory's main window, downtown Riverside looks like a fever dream. Every streetlight burns at maximum intensity, creating pools of yellow that seem to push the darkness back only a few feet. Emergency vehicle lights strobe constantly, red and blue painting the buildings in colors that should belong to evening, not afternoon. The traffic signals continue their pointless cycles, managing cars that move hesitantly through streets that feel fundamentally wrong. The backup generators at the hospital kicked in 20 minutes ago, reports Torrick Lane, standing near the radio console. His emergency coordinator training shows in his posture. Alert, organized, but I can see the strain in his eyes. Primary power fluctuations are affecting life support systems. They're having to choose which wings to keep fully powered. The radio crackles with fragments of emergency communications. Unit 23 to dispatch, we've got another crowd gathering at First Methodist. Estimate 200 people, candles and prayers. Requesting crowd control assistance. Dispatch to all units. Power substation on Elm Street reporting overload conditions. City engineering estimates we have maybe 6 hours before cascade failure. This is county emergency management. We're implementing rolling blackouts to preserve critical infrastructure. Hospitals and emergency services only. Navarra Sage looks up from her collection of historical texts, now spread across every available surface in the control room. The ancient manuscripts and modern printouts create a strange archaeological layer, humanity's attempts to understand cosmic impossibilities spanning millennia. The Sumerian tablets describe the same progression, she says quietly. First, the sun fails to rise. Then, the earth grows cold and the plants die. Then, she doesn't finish. Then what? Torrick demands. Then people start disappearing. Before anyone can respond, Dalen Croft's voice cuts through the tension from his position at the security monitors. We've got movement at the main gate. His weathered face, marked by 20 years of military service before taking the observatory security position, shows the kind of alert calm that comes from genuine combat experience. Looks like citizens trying to get up the hill. Maybe 30 people moving together. I cross to the security station and peer at the grainy black and white feeds. A group of people moves slowly up the access road, their progress lit by emergency flares and flashlights. Even through the poor video quality, their movement seems coordinated. Too coordinated for a panicked crowd. Sir, Dalen continues, adjusting the camera angle. These aren't refugees. Look at their formation. They're walking in some kind of pattern. He's right. The group moves in concentric circles, maintaining precise spacing between individuals. In the center, someone carries what looks like a large mirror or reflective disc that catches the emergency lighting and throws it back in complex patterns. Ritual behavior. Navarra breathes, pushing past us to see the monitor. Oh God, it's starting. The historical accounts all mention this. When the sun disappears, people begin to gather. They think they can call it back. The radio squawks with Dalen's voice from the external security post. "Dr. Van, I've got visual on the group now. They're not talking to each other, but they're all humming. Same tone, perfect harmony. And sir, some of them are bleeding. Through the main window, I can see pinpricks of light ascending the hill, the group's torches and flashlights creating a slow procession toward our position. The humming Dalen mentioned reaches us as a barely audible vibration that seems to resonate through the building's steel frame. The Geiger counter is clicking. Elvira calls from her station, her voice sharp with alarm. Background radiation levels are spiking. Whatever has displaced our sun is leaving radioactive signatures in the upper atmosphere. I rush to the main telescope controls, manually adjusting the position to scan the eastern horizon where sunrise should have occurred. Through the eyepiece, the sky looks wrong in ways that go beyond simple darkness. The stars seem closer, not brighter, but more immediate, as if the normal distance between Earth and cosmos has compressed. "Cairo?" Elvira's voice carries a tone I've never heard from her. Professional competence cracking under impossible stress. The atmospheric pressure is changing, not weather-related changes. It's like something massive is displacing air volume somewhere above us. The power flickers again, longer this time. The computers cycle through their restart sequence, and for 30 seconds, we're in relative darkness except for the battery-powered emergency lighting. In that half-darkness, the sound of approaching voices becomes clearer. Not just humming now, but chanting in a language none of us recognize but all of us somehow understand means worship. There at the outer perimeter, Dalen reports through the radio. Peaceful so far, but they've started arranging themselves in a spiral pattern around the base of the hill. The one with the mirror is in the center, and they're reflecting light from it up toward the observatory. Torrik grabs the public address microphone connected to the external speakers. "This is Emergency Coordinator Lane. Please disperse and return to your homes. The observatory is a restricted facility during emergency operations." The chanting stops. In the sudden silence, we can hear the hum of failing electrical systems, the distant sirens, and something else. A deep, rhythmic pulsing that seems to come from the ground itself. Then the chanting resumes, louder now, and through the security monitors we watch as more groups emerge from the darkness at the base of the hill. Dozens of people, all moving in the same coordinated patterns, all carrying reflective surfaces that catch and redirect the artificial light in increasingly complex configurations. The ancient texts, Navarra whispers, her hands shaking as she flips through pages. They're following the pattern, the ritual of calling. They think they can bring back the sun through collective will and proper astronomical positioning. "Can they?" Torrik asks. Navarra looks at him with haunted eyes. "According to the historical accounts, yes. But the sun they call back, it's not the same sun that disappeared. The power fails completely. Emergency batteries kick in, bathing the control room in red light that makes us all look like we're already dead. Through the observatory's main window, the spiral of chanters below us glows with reflected torchlight, their pattern now clearly visible as an ancient astronomical diagram made from human bodies. And somewhere in the darkness above us, something vast and impossible begins to respond to their call. End log number 012. Power status. Emergency battery backup only. Estimated 6 hours remaining. Personnel status. All team members present and accounted for. External threat level. Elevated coordinated civilian activity showing ritual characteristics. Recommendation. Prepare for complete infrastructure failure. Personal note. Just tried calling mom. Phone networks are down. The city is going dark section by section, but somehow the people outside are getting brighter. Observatory emergency log number 027. Date: March 15th, 2025. Time: 2000 hours local. Expected sunrise plus 15 hours. ***. Observer: Dr. Cairo Van. Status: critical electromagnetic anomaly detected ***. Battery power remaining 23%. I'm writing this by candlelight now. The main power grid failed 47 minutes ago, and our backup generators died 12 minutes after that. But before the lights went out, we saw something that changed everything we thought we understood about what's happening to our world. The sun didn't just fail to rise. It moved. At 1913, our remaining functional equipment detected a massive solar flare from coordinates that should have been empty space, 180 degrees opposite from where the sun should be positioned. The solar radiation burst came from directly behind Earth, as if our star had somehow relocated itself to the far side of our planet during the night. Elvira was monitoring the atmospheric sensors when the readings spiked. "Cairo," she called, her voice tight with controlled panic. "I'm seeing solar wind patterns hitting our magnetosphere from the wrong direction. The particles are coming from anti-solar coordinates." I swiveled the main telescope toward the indicated position, knowing what I'd find but hoping I was wrong. Through the eyepiece, filtered and magnified, I saw it. Our sun, burning in the constellation Virgo where it had no business being, its familiar corona twisted into shapes that hurt to look at directly even through proper filters. "Das ist unmöglich," I whispered, falling back into German the way I do when my scientific training fails me. Impossible doesn't begin to cover it. The electromagnetic pulse hit us 7 minutes later. Every screen in the control room flared white-hot before going dark. The radio network dissolved into static. Elvira's laptop sparked and died mid-sentence as she tried to transmit our findings to the emergency network. Even our hardened observatory equipment, built to withstand solar storms, couldn't handle the intensity of radiation from a sun that shouldn't exist in that position. Toric's emergency radio managed one final transmission before it too succumbed. All stations. Electromagnetic pulse confirmed citywide. All electronic systems failing. Switching to manual protocols. God help us all. Then silence. Navarra looked up from the ancient manuscripts she'd been studying by flashlight, her face pale in the wavering illumination. The Codex Astronomicus mentions Sol Inversus, the inverted sun. It's described as the third sign of the great unmaking. She traced a finger along the Latin text. When the Lightbringer shows his face in the House of Shadows, the ritual enters its final phase. Dalen moved to the window, his hand resting on his sidearm despite its uselessness against what we were facing. I count at least 300 people gathered in the plaza below. They're not panicking anymore. They're organized. I joined him at the observation window. The crowd below had arranged itself in concentric circles around the fountain, their faces turned upward toward our position. They weren't looking at the building, they were looking at the stars above it. As I watched, they began to move in slow, synchronized patterns, their bodies tracing geometric forms that seemed to shift and flow like living mathematics. "They know," Navarra said quietly. "Somehow, they understand what's happening better than we do." The Geiger counter, one of our few surviving instruments, began clicking with increasing frequency. Background radiation levels were climbing steadily, not from nuclear sources but from something else entirely. The electromagnetic signature was wrong for solar radiation, wrong for cosmic rays, wrong for anything in our textbooks. Elvira checked the manual atmospheric readings, using instruments that hadn't relied on electronics since the 1950s. Oxygen levels dropping, carbon dioxide spiking. It's like the entire planet's photosynthetic cycle has reversed. She looked at me with growing horror. Plants are consuming oxygen now instead of producing it. The whole biosphere is running backward. Through the telescope's manual eyepiece, I tracked the impossible sun's movement across the sky. It wasn't following any orbital mechanics I recognized. Instead, it traced patterns that matched the geometric forms the crowd was creating in the plaza below, as if the celestial body was responding to terrestrial choreography. Mein Gott, Ibrist. They're controlling it. The ritual isn't summoning something. It's commanding our own sun. A new sound began to emerge from the city below us. Singing. Not the panicked wails or confused shouting we'd heard earlier, but a coordinated harmonic progression that seemed to resonate with the very stones of the observatory. The building's structure began to vibrate in sympathy with the frequency. Toric's radio crackled back to life for a moment, picking up what sounded like the same harmonic progression from multiple points around the city. As the signal faded, we caught fragments of his final transmission. Ritual sites active at all major intersections. Estimate 10,000 participants. Pattern expanding. No longer isolated incident. The singing grew louder, and with it came a sound I'd never heard before. The distant groan of gravitational stress. Through the telescope, I watched in horrified fascination as the impossible sun began to pulse in rhythm with the chanting below. "It's working," Navarra whispered, her voice barely audible over the harmonic convergence. "The inversion ritual is reaching completion. They're not just moving the sun. They're preparing to lock it in position permanently." The atmospheric readings Elvira was taking by candlelight showed the truth of our situation. Without photosynthesis, without the normal solar heating cycle, without the electromagnetic patterns that drive weather systems, Earth had perhaps days before ecosystem collapse became irreversible. As if summoned by our growing despair, the crowd's singing reached a crescendo. The impossible sun flared brighter, and for a moment I could see it clearly without the telescope. A burning eye in the wrong part of the sky, staring down at us with malevolent intelligence. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the electromagnetic interference ceased. Our remaining battery-powered equipment flickered back to life, displaying readings that confirmed our worst fears. The sun was no longer following its orbital path. It had been fixed in position directly opposite Earth's current location, creating a permanent eclipse effect that would trap our planet in endless night. The observatory's main computer managed to display one final calculation before its circuits overloaded permanently. Time 2 global ecosystem collapse. 72 hours. Dalen turned from the window, his face grim in the candlelight. "They're coming up the hill. All of them, moving in formation." Through the telescope's manual eyepiece, I took one last look at our relocated sun. As I watched, the chromosphere began to pulse in a pattern that seemed almost like Morse code. A cosmic message spelled out in solar flares against the black of space. The message, when I finally decoded it, was simple and terrifying. The ritual is complete. The dark convergence begins. I'm sealing this log now. The building is surrounded, and we can hear footsteps on the observatory stairs. But we've learned something crucial. This isn't just an astronomical anomaly or even a supernatural phenomenon. It's a coordinated assault on reality itself, using our own star as a weapon against the planet it should be nurturing. Whatever happens next, whoever finds these records, remember this. The sun didn't disappear. It was moved. And if it can be moved once, perhaps it can be moved again. The singing outside has stopped. In the sudden silence, I can hear something far worse. The sound of thousands of people breathing in perfect unison, their exhalations creating a rhythm that matches the pulse of our displaced sun. They're waiting for something, and I'm terrified to discover what. End log number 027. Next observation. Unknown, external conditions preclude normal operations. Status. Facility compromised. Continue observations by any means necessary. Personal note. If anyone reads this, tell my mother I tried to understand. The stars weren't lying after all, we just weren't ready for the truth they were telling. Final equipment reading. Background radiation 347% above normal baseline. Source, unknown. Duration, indefinite. Observatory emergency log number 089. Date, unknown, day 2 of solar absence. Time, impossible to determine. All chronometers failed during EMP. Observer, Dr. Cairo Van. Status, barricaded, survival mode initiated ****. I'm writing this by candlelight. The emergency generators died 6 hours ago, or maybe 16 hours ago. Time has become meaningless when you can't see the sun. We've sealed ourselves inside the observatory's main building. Dalen Croft, our security chief, used his maintenance access to lock down every entrance except the main door. which he's reinforced with furniture and equipment cases. The man's tactical experience from his army days is keeping us alive, though I suspect he never trained for defending against whatever's happening outside. The sounds are the worst part. Not the breaking glass or the shouting. Those stopped sometime during what should have been yesterday evening. It's the synchronized humming that started around midnight. Hundreds of voices, maybe thousands, all carrying the same wordless tune. It rises and falls in patterns that make my teeth ache. "Conserve the batteries," Elvira whispers from across the control room. She's become our unofficial leader since the communications failed. Her laptop screen provides the only steady light now, its pale glow making our faces look corpse-like. "We need power for the atmospheric readings." Navarra Sage looks up from the ancient manuscripts she's been poring over by flickering candlelight. The cultural anthropologist's hands are stained with ink and her eyes are bloodshot, but she hasn't stopped researching since she arrived 3 days ago. "The ritual timing is crucial," she says. "If I'm reading these passages correctly, we still have time to interrupt it, but the window is closing." "How much time?" I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know. "The conjunction happens when the stolen sun reaches its zenith in the antiposition, based on the star movements we observed before the power failed." She pauses, calculating. "Maybe 18 hours, maybe less." Dalen moves away from the window where he's been monitoring the street. His weathered face is grim. The crowds are getting bigger. They're not panicking anymore, that's what worries me. They're organizing. Through the reinforced glass, I can see the orange glow of fires burning throughout downtown Riverside. The synchronized humming is coming from those fires, where hundreds of people stand in perfect circles, their faces turned toward the starlit sky. They've been gathering since the electromagnetic pulse knocked out the power grid. "The ritual requires participation," Navarra continues, her voice barely audible. "The more people who join, the stronger the gravitational anchor becomes. That's why the ancient texts call it the night that swallows tomorrow." Elvira's fingers dance across her keyboard, coaxing data from the laptop's dying battery. Atmospheric oxygen is dropping. Not drastically, but consistently. Plants aren't photosynthesizing without sunlight. We have maybe 4 days before it becomes a problem. "We don't have 4 days," I point out. "We have 18 hours, and that's if Navarra's calculations are right." "The water's a more immediate concern," Dalen adds. "City pressure dropped to nothing about 2 hours ago. We've got maybe 6 bottles left, plus whatever's in the coffee maker. The resource situation is becoming critical. When we first barricaded ourselves in here, we had enough supplies for maybe 2 days. Granola bars from the vending machine, bottled water from the break room, and the emergency rations Dalen keeps in his security office. Now we're rationing everything. We need to make a choice," Elvira says, closing her laptop to conserve battery. "Do we use the remaining power to monitor atmospheric conditions? Or do we try to get the backup telescope working for astronomical observations? It's a horrible choice. The atmospheric data might help us understand how the missing sun is affecting our planet's life support systems. But the telescope could help us figure out where the sun actually is, crucial information if we're going to interrupt whatever ritual moved it. The telescope, I decide. If we can determine the sun's actual position relative to Earth, we might be able to calculate when the conjunction occurs." Navarra nods approvingly. The ancient texts mention the observer's eye as being crucial to the counter-ritual. They needed someone who could track the stolen sun's movement. "Great," Dalen mutters. "So we're betting our lives on a bunch of old books and a broken telescope." "The telescope isn't broken," I correct him. "It just needs manual operation. The computerized tracking system is dead, but the optics are fine." "Can you operate it manually?" Elvira asks. I consider this. Manual telescope operation is a lost art, something I learned from my graduate advisor, who learned it from his advisor, stretching back to astronomers who worked before computerized systems. "Yes, but it'll be difficult without power. I'll need someone to help with the mechanical adjustments." "I'll do it," Elvira volunteers immediately. "You're needed for atmospheric monitoring," Navarra interjects. The ritual's effects on air composition could be crucial information. Then who? Elvira asks. We all look at Dalen, who raises his hands defensively. I know security systems and weapons maintenance. I don't know telescopes. You know mechanical systems, I point out. The telescope's mount is basically a precision mechanical instrument. I can teach you the basics. The decision feels enormous. Once we commit to using our remaining battery power for telescope operation, we won't have enough left for atmospheric monitoring or communications. We'll be operating blind except for whatever we can observe through the telescope's eyepiece. A new sound interrupts our planning. Footsteps on the observatory's metal stairs. Slow, deliberate, climbing toward our barricaded position. Dalen moves to the window, peering down at the building's entrance. 3 people. Moving information, not stumbling around like the others. Ritual participants? Navarra asks. Or survivors looking for shelter? Elvira suggests hopefully. The footsteps stop just outside our door. A voice calls out, calm, measured, completely at odds with the chaos outside. "De Ervan. We know you're in there. We need to talk." Dalen's hand moves to his service weapon. "Nobody should know we're here." I locked down the building access logs. "Unless they're tracking us through the ritual," Navarra whispers. The texts mention the observer's burden. The astronomer becomes a focal point for the cosmic forces involved. The voice outside continues. "The conjunction is beginning, Doctor. You can feel it, can't you? The pull of the sun from its new position. Your expertise is needed. I can feel it. A strange tugging sensation, like being gently pulled eastward. I'd attributed it to stress and exhaustion, but now..." "Don't answer," Dalen hisses. "We're not here to force you," the voice says. "But you should know your colleague Torrik Lane is with us. He's safe, but he needs medical attention. We can provide that, but only if you cooperate." Elvira's eyes widen. Torrik went missing yesterday when he tried to secure an evacuation route downtown. We'd assumed he was dead. "It's a trap," Dalen says firmly. "Maybe," Navarra agrees. "But if it's not and Torrik is really out there, the impossible choice. Risk our lives to save our friend, or continue with our desperate plan to interrupt the ritual." "Dr. Van?" The voice calls again. "You have 10 minutes to decide. After that, the conjunction forces will make the choice for you." I look around our makeshift fortress. Candles burning low, battery power nearly exhausted, water running out, and the synchronized humming from outside growing louder. Whatever we decide, we need to act soon. "The telescope," I say finally. "We stick with the plan. If there's really a way to interrupt this ritual, we have to try." Elvira nods, reopening her laptop. "I'll transfer the atmospheric data to the telescope's backup drive. At least we'll have that information." Dalen checks his weapon and moves back to the window. They're still out there. 3 of them, just standing by the door. The 10 minutes is a countdown, Navarra realizes, looking up from her texts. They're not waiting for an answer. They're waiting for the ritual forces to compel us outside. "Then we better get that telescope working," I say, moving toward the manual controls. Outside, the synchronized humming reaches a new pitch, and I feel that eastward pull grows stronger. Whatever's happening, we're running out of time to stop it. End log number 089. Personal note. If anyone finds this log, know that we tried. The backup telescope is our last hope. If we fail, maybe the next observers will learn from our mistakes. Resource status: water, 6 bottles remaining. Food, 18 hours at current rationing. Battery power, 2 to 3 hours maximum. Candles, 12 remaining. Personnel status:
Kairovan. Operation All. Experiencing ritual pull.
Elvira Quill, operational leading survival coordination. Navarra Sage, operational researching counter-ritual. Dalen Croft, operational maintaining security. Torrik Lane, status unknown, possibly captured. Observatory emergency log number 027. Date: March 18th, 2025. Day 3 time measurement becoming meaningless. ***. Observer, Dr. Cairo Van. Battery status, critical, 8% remaining ***. Status, containment breach, ritual convergence imminent ***. I should have burned Navarra's research when I had the chance. The ancient manuscript lies open on the control desk, its parchment pages illuminated by our last functioning emergency light. The Sanskrit symbols seem to writhe in the flickering LED glow, and I can't tell if it's my exhaustion or something more sinister. Navarra's translation notes are scattered around it. 3 days of frantic work that led us to this moment of terrible clarity. The ritual requires a willing astronomical observer as sacrifice. Someone who watches the stars professionally, who understands celestial mechanics, who can guide the final phase from the proper vantage point. Someone like me, positioned exactly where I am, in an observatory that sits at the precise coordinates the ancient texts describe as the eye through which heaven watches earth. You can't seriously be considering this, Elvira says for the 10th time, her voice hoarse from arguing. She's been maintaining our atmospheric readings for the past 6 hours, tracking the oxygen depletion as plants across the city die from lack of photosynthesis. The numbers are grim. We have maybe 18 hours before breathing becomes difficult citywide. Dalen stands at the barricaded door, his security uniform torn and blood-stained from yesterday's encounters with the ritual participants who now surround our building. Through the reinforced glass, we can see them in the parking lot below. Hundreds of people standing in perfect concentric circles, their faces turned upward toward our dome, mouths moving in silent synchronization. They've been out there for 4 hours, he reports, his voice barely above a whisper. Not moving, not eating, not drinking, just waiting. Toric's radio equipment sits dead on the desk beside Navarra's manuscript. We lost contact with emergency services 12 hours ago when he went to secure our escape route. The building's basement access remains open. The steel door he was supposed to seal stands ajar like a wound in our defenses. He's not coming back, Navarra says quietly, though we all knew this hours ago. Her guilt over the translation work has aged her face in these 3 days. The enthusiastic cultural anthropologist who arrived with ancient stories has become someone haunted by the weight of prophecy. The ritual participants, they would have needed him for the preliminary sacrifice. The text mentions the guardian's blood to open the way. Elvira slams her laptop shut, the sharp sound making us all flinch. Stop. Just stop talking about sacrifice and ritual and ancient texts. This is astronomical mechanics. There has to be a scientific explanation. The explanation is in front of you, I say, gesturing to the manuscript. Earth hasn't just been pulled out of orbit. We've been positioned as the focal point for a gravitational manipulation that requires conscious observation to complete. The observatory isn't just our shelter, Elvira. It's the ritual center. Through the telescope's manual eyepiece, our only remaining functional instrument now that the power systems have failed, I can see the impossible sight that's haunted me for the past hour. The sun hangs motionless behind Earth's bulk, visible only as a corona of fire around our planet's shadow. But it's moving incrementally, measurably, back toward its proper position. The ritual is working. How long until conjunction? Dalen asks, checking his watch out of habit, though time has become fluid in our sealed world. Navarra consults her calculations, cross-referencing the manuscript with astronomical tables. The texts describe a moment of celestial unity, when Earth's shadow and the sun's fire meet at the observation point. Based on the current solar movement, she pauses, recalculating. 6 hours. Maybe less. 6 hours. Our battery power died an hour ago. We're running on the emergency cells now, which gives us maybe 3 hours of minimal lighting. The heating system failed this morning. The control room temperature has dropped to 45 degrees. Our water ran out yesterday. The last of our food, protein bars and stale coffee, disappeared before dawn. But none of that matters compared to what Navarra discovered in the final pages of the manuscript. Tell them, I say to her. She shakes her head. Cairo, please tell them what happens if we don't complete the ritual. Her voice breaks. The gravitational anchor becomes permanent. Earth remains in its current position, locked in perpetual night, until the planet's surface freezes completely. Estimated survival time for human civilization: 3 weeks. Elvira has been running atmospheric models on her laptop's dying battery. She's right. Without solar heating, we enter permanent winter within days. The ocean currents stop, weather patterns collapse, plant life dies globally. It's not just our city, it's extinction. But if the ritual completes? Dalen asks, though I can see in his eyes that he already knows. Earth returns to proper orbit, Navarra whispers. Solar heating resumes. Civilization continues. The cost is... She can't finish. The cost is the observer. I complete. The ritual requires conscious astronomical observation during the moment of conjunction. The electromagnetic backlash from the gravitational realignment will kill whoever operates the telescope during the final phase. The control room falls silent except for the sound of wind whistling through the building's damaged ventilation system and the distant, rhythmic chanting from the crowd below. They know somehow that the moment approaches. The ritual participants have been gathering all day, drawn by some supernatural instinct that tells them their cosmic work nears completion. Elvira moves to stand beside me at the telescope. In the LED's dim light, I can see tears on her cheeks. There has to be another way. I've been over the calculations 100 times, I tell her. The conjunction point requires manual telescope operation. Someone has to track the sun's position relative to Earth's shadow with precision timing. The electromagnetic surge from the gravitational shift will overload any electronic equipment within a 100-meter radius. It has to be done manually by someone who understands stellar mechanics, by someone who spent 12 years doing night observations, she says, by someone whose expertise led them to this exact place at this exact time. I take her hand, surprised by how cold her fingers are. By someone who's already lost everything that matters. That's not entirely true. Looking around the control room at Elvira's determined face, at Navarra's guilt-stricken but resolute expression, at Dalen's protective stance despite our hopeless situation, I realize I'm about to lose the most important things I've found in these 3 days of crisis. The ritual positioning requires the observer to remain at the telescope during the entire conjunction sequence. Navarra explains, her voice clinical to mask her emotion. Approximately 18 minutes of continuous observation while Earth's gravitational field realigns. The electromagnetic backlash begins at the 12-minute mark. 6 minutes to live once the killing begins. 18 minutes to save the world. Through the telescope, I watch Earth's shadow begin to shift against the sun's corona. The movement is barely perceptible, but my trained eye can detect the change. The ancient forces that pulled our planet from its orbit are slowly, methodically, returning it to proper position. All they need is a human observer to guide the final phase, to serve as the conscious anchor point between celestial mechanics and terrestrial survival. Elvira squeezes my hand. I could do it. I understand the atmospheric calculations. You're not qualified for precision stellar tracking, I interrupt gently. And besides, you're the only one who can coordinate the post-conjunction recovery. The city will need atmospheric monitoring, oxygen level assessment, infrastructure evaluation. They'll need you. Dalen checks his watch. The crowd's getting larger. There have to be 1,000 people down there now. Through the control room windows, we can see the truth of his observation. The parking lot overflows with ritual participants, their circles extending onto the surrounding streets. They stand motionless in the artificial light of emergency vehicles and street lamps, their faces uniformly turned toward our observatory dome. They know it's time, Navarra says. The ritual compulsion is strongest during the final phase. I look around the control room one last time, at the dead computers, the scattered research papers, the emergency supplies that sustained us through 3 impossible days. At the colleagues who became friends, who became family in the crucible of cosmic horror. I need you all to understand something, I tell them. When I was a child, My grandmother used to take me onto her roof in Chennai to watch meteor showers. She told me that astronomers are the universe's way of knowing itself. We're the eyes through which the cosmos observes its own beauty. I moved to the telescope, adjusting the manual controls. Through the eyepiece, Earth's shadow continues its inexorable dance across the sun's fire. Today, we are the universe's way of saving itself. The conjunction starts in 30 seconds. Through the telescope, I watch Earth's shadow begin to move across the sun's surface with increasing speed. The ritual participants below begin to chant audibly, their voices creating a harmony that resonates through the building's steel framework. Whatever happens next, we chose this. We chose knowledge over ignorance, sacrifice over selfishness, hope over despair. The stars never lie, Nanny used to say. Today, they're telling us that some truths are worth dying for. End log number 027. Next observation. Conjunction sequence initiated. Status. Final phase commencing. Duration. 18 minutes to completion. Observer survival probability. 0%. Personal note. Mom, if anyone ever reads this, I love you. Tell the story of the night that wouldn't end and how it finally became dawn. Observatory emergency log number 047. Date, March 18th, 2025. Time, unknown. Final hours before conjunction ***.
Observer. DR Kairovan ***.
Status, critical discovery. World-ending implications ***. I was wrong about everything. The backup generator's diesel engine coughs and sputters in the storage room below us, feeding precious electricity to our last functioning instruments. Elvira crouches beside me at the manual telescope controls, her face illuminated by the green glow of our final working monitor. The screen shows readings that should be impossible, but after 3 days of impossibilities, I've learned to trust the data over my disbelief. Show me the calculations again, I whisper, though the chanting outside has grown so loud that whispers are unnecessary. The ritual participants have surrounded the observatory completely now, their synchronized voices creating a harmonic frequency that makes the building's steel framework vibrate. Elvira points to the gravitational wave detector readings, equipment we jury-rigged from the seismograph when our main instruments failed. The wavelength pattern here, at 1423 yesterday. See how it spikes every 4.7 minutes. I trace the pattern with my finger, my mind automatically converting the data into three-dimensional models. That's not gravitational waves from a distant source. That's... I stop, the implications hitting me like a physical blow. That's local space-time distortion. Something is manipulating gravity within our solar system. Now look at this. She pulls up the star chart from our first night, overlaying it with our current observations. I thought the stars were moving into ritual patterns, but they're not moving at all. We are. The truth unfolds like a mathematical proof, each piece of evidence leading inexorably to a conclusion that rewrites everything I thought I knew about orbital mechanics. Earth hasn't been locked in place while the sun disappeared. Earth has been pulled completely out of its orbit, dragged away from the sun like a ball yanked from a child's hand. The ritual isn't hiding the sun, I breathe. It's stealing the planet. Through the manual telescope eyepiece, I can see the proof. The constellation Orion, which should be setting in the west during March, hangs directly overhead. The Big Dipper points toward what should be the southern horizon. We're not just in the wrong time, we're in the wrong place entirely. How far? I ask, though I'm already calculating the answer from the stellar positions. Based on the apparent magnitude changes in the reference stars, approximately 47 million kilometers from our original orbital position, Elvira replies. We're somewhere between Mars and Jupiter's orbits, but not following any natural trajectory. The chanting outside shifts to a higher pitch, and the gravitational wave detector shows a massive spike. Through the telescope, I watch the familiar stars begin to move, not in the stately procession of Earth's rotation, but in deliberate, purposeful realignment. They're not finished with us, I realize. The current position is temporary, a staging area. Navarra's voice drifts up from the lower level where she's been translating the final passages of the ancient text by candlelight. The ritual has 3 phases, she calls: separation, alignment, and integration. We're in the second phase. Integration into what? Elvira shouts back. A permanent winter orbit. The manuscripts describe it as the world wrapped in endless night, held in the cold embrace of the void. Earth becomes a rogue planet, cast out from the sun forever. I lean back from the telescope, my mind reeling. The mathematics are clear now. Earth has been pulled into a holding pattern while the ritual participants align our planet with something else. But what could generate enough gravitational force to drag an entire world out of orbit? The electromagnetic readings, I murmur, pulling up the data from our failing instruments. Remember the cosmic ray flux increases we detected on the first night? That wasn't random background radiation. Elvira sees it immediately. It's structured, pulsed. Someone is broadcasting gravitational waves from outside our solar system. Not someone, I correct, studying the harmonic patterns. Something. The wavelength signature matches theoretical models for rotating black holes, but the power output would require a stellar mass object. There's nothing in our immediate galactic neighborhood that could. The building shudders as another gravitational wave passes through us. On the monitor, I watch the seismic readings spike as the very fabric of spacetime ripples around our location. The ancient ritual isn't just manipulating local gravity. It's creating a resonance pattern that connects Earth to a massive gravitational anomaly light years away. They're using Earth as a gravitational antenna, I whisper. The ritual participants, their synchronized movements, the geometric patterns they've been forming around the city, they're turning the entire planet into a receiver for gravitational waves from deep space. Through the telescope, I can see the final phase beginning. The stars are arranging themselves into configurations that shouldn't be possible, their apparent positions shifting as Earth's trajectory changes. We're being pulled toward something, a destination that will lock us in permanent orbit around an object that exists far beyond our sun's influence. How long do we have? Elvira asks. I check the gravitational wave pattern against the ritual timing. The harmonic convergence is accelerating, the frequency increasing toward some critical threshold. Based on the current rate of spacetime distortion, maybe 18 hours before we reach the point of no return. Once Earth's velocity exceeds solar escape velocity in this direction, we'll never find our way back to the sun. Can we stop it? I stare at the ancient observatory equipment around us. Instruments designed to observe the cosmos, not manipulate it. But as I study the gravitational wave patterns, I begin to see a possibility. The ritual uses Earth as a receiver, but receivers can be turned into transmitters with the right modifications. The ritual requires precise timing, I say slowly. The gravitational resonance has to be maintained at exactly the right frequency, or the connection breaks. If we could generate a countersignal, broadcast our own gravitational waves at the inverse frequency, we could disrupt the pattern, Elvira finishes. Break the connection and let Earth's natural momentum carry us back toward the sun. But we'd need a massive amount of power to generate gravitational waves strong enough to interfere with their signal. More power than this entire city could produce. Elvira looks around the darkened observatory, her gaze settling on the main telescope's tracking motor. What if we don't need to overpower their signal? What if we just need to change the timing by a few microseconds? I follow her reasoning. A phase shift. If we could introduce a slight delay in the gravitational wave pattern, the resonance would collapse like a house of cards. And all we'd need is precise timing and a way to convert the observatory's tracking systems into a gravitational wave generator. The generator coughs again below us, and I realize we're running out of time in more ways than one. The fuel won't last another hour, and without power, we'll lose our ability to monitor the gravitational patterns, let alone interfere with them. There's one more problem, I say quietly. The countersignal has to be broadcast from the exact center of the gravitational distortion. Someone has to operate the equipment manually while the waves are passing through this location. Elvira meets my eyes. The electromagnetic feedback will kill anyone touching the controls during the transmission. I know. Through the telescope, I watch Earth's shadow begin to eclipse distant stars as our planet tumbles through space toward an impossible destination. The chanting outside reaches a crescendo, and I can feel the building's foundation shifting as gravitational tides pull at the very atoms of the observatory. How long to set up the counter-transmission? Elvira asks. I look at our failing equipment, calculating the modifications needed to turn passive observers into active gravitational broadcasters. 30 minutes to reconfigure the tracking systems. Another 10 minutes to align the transmission with their signal pattern. That gives us maybe 20 minutes of generator power for the actual transmission. It only needs to work for 30 seconds, I reply. Just long enough to break the resonance and let physics take over. The building shudders again, and through the telescope, I see the stars beginning their final alignment. In the distance, I can hear sirens and aircraft, the last desperate attempts by human civilization to maintain order as the world itself is stolen from beneath our feet. Elvira, I say, turning to face her, if this works, Earth will snap back toward the sun like a rubber band. The orbital correction will take months, maybe years. The seasons will be disrupted, climate patterns will shift, and we'll have to completely recalculate everything we know about our planet's position. And if it doesn't work, I gesture toward the window, where the aurora-like lights dance across a sky that no longer belongs to our solar system. Then humanity learns to live in permanent winter, orbiting a dead star in the void between galaxies. She nods, her face set with determination. Then we better make sure it works. The generator's engine misses a beat, and the lights flicker. Time is running out for all of us, for our power supply, for our planet, and for the species that never imagined its home could be stolen by forces beyond comprehension. But as I begin sketching the modifications needed to turn our observatory into humanity's last hope, I realize that everything I've learned in 12 years of studying the cosmos has prepared me for this moment. The stars never lie, Nanny used to say. Today, I'm going to make them tell the truth about how to bring our world home. End log number 047. Status: counter-ritual preparation in progress. Power remaining: 47 minutes on generator backup. Time to conjunction: approximately 18 hours. Probability of success: unknown, but necessary. Personal note: if anyone reads this after we're gone, remember that we chose to try. The universe is vast and strange and dangerous, but it's also beautiful. Whatever happens to Earth, never stop looking up at the stars. They're the only constant in a cosmos full of impossible things. Observatory Emergency Log Number 047. Date: March 18th, 2025. Time: Day 4. Conjunction T-minus 47 minutes ***. Observer: Dr. Cairo Van. Status: final transmission. If anyone receives this ***, the chanting outside has reached a crescendo that makes the observatory's reinforced walls vibrate. Through the cracked window, I can see them, hundreds of figures in the courtyard below, moving in perfect synchronization, their voices weaving together in harmonies that shouldn't be possible for human throats. The sound gets into your bones, makes your teeth ache. Elvira's jury-rigged power coupling is holding, but barely. The generators are screaming under the load of feeding power to equipment that was never meant to operate during a gravitational anomaly. Sparks cascade from the main console every few seconds, and the smell of burning insulation fills the control room. Conjunction in 45 minutes. I call out, not taking my eye from the telescope's manual eyepiece. Through the scope, Earth's shadow is creeping across the sun's relocated disk, a sight that should be impossible but has become our only hope. The orbital mathematics are holding steady. Navarra looks up from the ancient manuscript spread across the floor, her face illuminated by flickering candlelight and the hellish glow of overloaded electronics. The counter-incantation requires continuous astronomical observation through the entire conjunction phase. No breaks, no hesitation. The moment the observer stops tracking the celestial mechanics, the ritual snaps back to its original configuration. How long is the full conjunction? Elvira asks, wrestling with a power coupling that's trying to tear itself apart. I check my calculations one more time. 18 minutes. From first contact to final separation. Dalen appears in the doorway, his tactical vest torn and bloodied. There through the outer perimeter. I've barricaded the main stairwell, but it won't hold long. Maybe 10 minutes before they reach this level. The mathematics are brutal and clear. We need 18 minutes of uninterrupted observation. We have 10 minutes before hostile forces reach us. The generators will fail completely in approximately 12 minutes. And the electromagnetic backlash from forcing Earth back into proper orbit will kill anyone operating the telescope during the final phase. There's another problem, Elvira says quietly, her voice barely audible over the generator noise. The power coupling for the telescope's tracking system is completely fried. Someone will have to manually track the sun's movement during the conjunction. Manual tracking? I stare at the massive telescope, its brass and steel mechanisms designed for computer-controlled precision. That means staying at the eyepiece, making constant adjustments by hand, compensating for Earth's orbital shift in real time. While the electromagnetic fields are at their peak, Navarra adds, the ancient texts are very specific about the energies released during orbital manipulation. They call it starfire that burns without flame. The building shudders as something heavy impacts the barricaded door below. Dalen checks his weapon, his last magazine. Whatever we're doing, we need to do it now. I look around at what remains of our team. Elvira, brilliant and fierce, her atmospheric expertise having evolved into something approaching engineering genius. Navarra, who bridged the impossible gap between ancient knowledge and modern crisis. Dalen, who never asked questions about the science, just kept us alive long enough to find answers. And me, the astronomer who spent his career studying distant stars, now faced with saving the planet that hosts them all. I'll take the telescope, I say. Elvira, can you maintain power for 18 minutes? If I push the generators past their safety limits and manually regulate the power flow, maybe. But the backlash will fry every piece of electronics in the building, including anything connected to a person. The counter-ritual requires specific astronomical coordinates to be called out during the conjunction. Navarra explains, tracing lines in the manuscript with her finger. Right ascension, declination, orbital velocity, all in real time as Earth moves back into position. I can handle the incantations, but I need the numbers. Through the telescope, I watch the shadow's edge creep closer to the sun's center. The cosmic ballet is beginning, and we're the only conductors for this deadly symphony. Dalen, I say, how long can you hold them off? He checks his watch, then listens to the sounds of splintering wood from below. Give me 15 minutes. After that, he shrugs. After that, it won't matter. The plan crystallizes with desperate clarity. Dalen will buy us time. Elvira will keep the power flowing despite equipment failure. Navarra will speak words that bridge science and ancient wisdom. And I will track the impossible conjunction manually, calling out coordinates while electromagnetic radiation cooks me from the inside. The backlash will kill whoever's operating the telescope. I tell them bluntly. The magnetic fields will be strongest at the observation point. Elvira steps toward me. Cairo, no. I move to the telescope, already adjusting the manual controls. This is what I trained for. 12 years of night shifts, learning to track objects by feel, by instinct. My expertise, my responsibility. The conjunction timer hits 30 minutes. Outside, the chanting shifts to a higher pitch that makes the windows crack. Power coupling engaged, Elvira reports, her hands dancing across jury-rigged controls. I can give you 18 minutes, but the last 5 will be running on pure overload. Beginning counter-incantation sequence. Navarra announces, her voice taking on formal cadences as she reads from the manuscript. Astronomical observer. Report initial coordinates. I center the sun in the telescope's crosshairs, my hands finding the manual tracking controls. Right ascension 14 hours, 37 minutes. Declination -8 degrees, 42 arc minutes. Orbital velocity, adjusting for gravitational anomaly, 7.3 kilometers per second, decreasing. The ancient words flow from Navarra's throat, syllables that seem to resonate with the building's steel frame. The generator's screaming pitch changes, harmonizing with her voice in ways that make reality itself seem flexible. Contact begins now. I watch Earth's shadow touch the relocated sun's edge. Right ascension 14 hours, 38 minutes. Declination shifting to -8 degrees, 39 arc minutes. The building shakes as Dalen's barricade finally gives way. Gunfire echoes up the stairwell, precise, controlled bursts that speak of tactical expertise buying precious seconds. Power at 80%. Elvira calls out. Generators stable for now. Orbital velocity decreasing to 6.8 kilometers per second. I report, feeling the telescope's mechanics respond to my manual adjustments. Shadow progression on schedule. The electromagnetic backlash begins as a tingling in my fingertips, quickly intensifying to a burning sensation that crawls up my arms. The metal eyepiece is getting hot against my face, but I can't break contact now. T-12 minutes to totality. I announce. Right ascension 14 hours, 40 minutes. Declination. Wait. Through the scope, I watch something impossible. The shadow is accelerating. The orbital mechanics are changing faster than calculated. Navarra's voice never wavers, but sweat beads on her forehead as she maintains the incantation. Ancient syllables blend with the sound of combat from the stairwell. Dalen's tactical retreat, buying us every second he can. Adjusting power output, Elvira shouts over the generator noise, compensating for accelerated timeline. The heat in the telescope is becoming unbearable. My vision blurs as electromagnetic radiation begins affecting my nervous system, but the shadow's progression remains clear in the eyepiece. T-8 minutes to totality. Orbital velocity now at 6.1 kilometers per second and still decreasing. A new sound joins the cacophony, splintering wood from the control room door. They've reached our level. Whatever happens, I call to the team, not daring to look away from the telescope. Don't let me stop tracking until totality ends. Even if the door explodes inward, Dalen backs through the opening, firing controlled bursts at the ritual participants streaming behind him. But these aren't the mindless cultists we expected. They move with unnatural coordination, their eyes reflecting the generator lights like mirrors. Keep going, Dalen shouts, positioning himself between the attackers and our equipment. I can hold them for a few more minutes. The electromagnetic backlash is cooking me alive now. I can smell my own skin burning where it touches the metal telescope housing, but the shadow continues its inexorable march across the relocated sun's face. T-4 minutes to totality. I force out through gritted teeth. Right ascension 14 hours, 43 minutes. Declination -8 degrees, 22 arc minutes. The generators are screaming now, pushed far beyond their design limits. Sparks fountain from every junction box, and the smell of burning electronics fills the air. But Elvira keeps her hands on the controls, manually regulating power flow even as electricity arcs around her fingers. Navarra's voice has taken on harmonics that seem to come from the building itself, as if the observatory's steel and concrete are joining her incantation. The ancient words reshape reality around us, bending physics to accommodate impossible hope. Through the telescope, I watch the shadow's edge approach the sun's center. The heat is unbearable now. My hands are blistering where they grip the controls. My face burns where it presses against the eyepiece, but I can see the mathematics working. Earth is moving back into proper orbit. T-2 minutes to totality. I scream over the chaos. Right ascension 14 hours, 44 minutes. Orbital velocity decreasing to design parameters. Dalen's ammunition runs out. I hear the click of an empty chamber, then the sound of improvised combat as he switches to his tactical knife. The ritual participants press forward, their coordinated movements creating a circle around our equipment. But they don't attack. Instead, they begin chanting in unison with Navarra's incantation, their voices creating harmonics that make the air itself vibrate. They're not trying to stop the counter-ritual, they're completing it. The ritual was never about preventing the sun's return. Navarra gasps between ancient syllables. It was about making someone choose to bring it back. The sacrifice had to be willing. Totality begins. Now, the shadow covers the relocated sun completely, and through the telescope, I watch impossible celestial mechanics unfold. Earth lurches in its orbit, gravitational forces reshaping our solar system's geometry. Orbital correction in progress. Right ascension shifting rapidly. 14 hours, 46 minutes and climbing. The electromagnetic backlash reaches lethal intensity. My nervous system is shutting down, vision fading to tunnel focus on the telescope's eyepiece. But through the scope, I can see our sun beginning to move back toward its proper position in Earth's sky. Final phase. Navarra's voice carries impossible harmonics as every throat in the room joins her incantation. Totality ending in 30 seconds. Right ascension 14 hours, 48 minutes. I call out, feeling consciousness slip away. Declination returning to normal parameters. Orbital velocity. Velocity. The shadow begins to lift from the sun's edge. Through the telescope, I watch our star slide back toward its proper place in the heavens. The mathematics are beautiful, elegant, inevitable. Physics reasserting itself after supernatural interruption. Totality ends. Now, I whisper, watching the last edge of shadow slip away from the sun's face. The electromagnetic backlash hits with the force of lightning. Every nerve in my body explodes with pain as electricity courses through the telescope's metal framework. The last thing I see through the eyepiece is our sun, burning bright and true in its correct position as Earth settles back into proper orbit. Then darkness takes me, and the last sound I hear is Elvira screaming my name. End log number 047. Status: conjunction successful, orbital mechanics restored. Observer condition: unknown. Recommendation: send medical assistance immediately. Final entry recorded by voice recognition system. Observer collapsed at completion of conjunction tracking. Vital signs present but unstable. Counter-ritual appears successful, awaiting sunrise confirmation. Observatory recovery log #final. Date: March 18, 2025. Time: 6:47 a.m. local. 72 hours after initial event ***. Observer: Dr. Cairo Van, Senior Astronomer, Vision Impaired, ***. Status: Solar Cycle Restored, Orbital Parameters Modified ***. The sun rose this morning at 6:47 a.m., exactly on schedule. My damaged eyes can't see it directly anymore, but I can feel its warmth through the temporary shelter's thin walls. The electromagnetic backlash from the counter-ritual burned out my retinas, but somehow, impossibly, that feels like a fair trade for keeping our world. I'm dictating this final log to Elvira. Her voice has become my new way of seeing. Steady, precise, tinged with exhaustion but not defeated. She's been the unofficial director of the Observatory Recovery Project since the main building collapsed during the conjunction event. The city wants to rebuild the facility, and surprisingly, they want us to lead the effort. Tell them about the orbital changes, Elvira prompts gently. She's learned to read my hesitations, the moments when memory and trauma tangle together. Yes, the changes. According to Elvira's calculations, Earth's orbit has been permanently altered by approximately 0.3 degrees. The effect is subtle but measurable. Our winters will be roughly 8 days longer, our summers correspondingly shorter. The equinoxes will shift by 12 hours over the next century. It's a small price for restoration, but future generations will live in a world with slightly different seasons because of what we prevented. The astronomical community has been receptive to our report. The International Astronomical Union has classified the event as a confirmed gravitational anomaly of unknown origin, which is their way of acknowledging that our data is accurate without admitting they understand what happened. The Chinese Observatory Network has begun a project to monitor for similar stellar displacement events. The Europeans are developing new protocols for cosmic ritual detection. Only a few dozen people know the complete truth. The rest of the world believes they experienced a rare but explainable phenomenon, a combination of solar flare activity and atmospheric distortion that created the illusion of delayed sunrise. The official explanation involves magnetospheric interference and aurora-like effects at unprecedented latitudes. It's scientifically plausible enough to satisfy those who need rational explanations. But we know better. We know what we saw in those final hours. Navarra has become something of a celebrity in archaeological circles. Her paper on astronomical ritual systems in pre-Columbian civilizations has been accepted by 3 major journals. She's consulting with observatories worldwide, helping them identify historical sites that might serve as future ritual anchors. Yesterday, she told me about a similar site in Peru that's been generating minor gravitational anomalies for decades. The cycle isn't broken, she explained during our last team meeting. Only delayed. The texts suggest a 127-year interval between major conjunction events. We bought time, but we didn't eliminate the threat. Daylen has been working with the Federal Emergency Management Agency to develop response protocols for what they're calling cosmic emergency events. His experience during the 3-day crisis, coordinating evacuation routes, managing civilian panic, maintaining communication during infrastructure failure, has made him invaluable to national security planning. He's been promoted to Regional Coordinator for Astronomical Threat Assessment. Sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, he joked last week. But after what we lived through, I'd rather be prepared for ridiculous than caught off guard by impossible. We lost Torrik during the 2nd day, trying to secure an evacuation route for non-essential personnel. The ritual participants, civilians who'd been drawn into the collective trance, overwhelmed his position near the observatory's main entrance. He bought us enough time to complete the counter-ritual calculations, but the cost. Some prices are too high to calculate. The city named the new emergency response center after him. The Torrik Lane Crisis Coordination Facility will serve as the regional hub for disaster management, with special protocols for unconventional threats. His family attended the dedication ceremony. His daughter asked me if her father saved the world. I told her yes, absolutely yes. My vision loss has been an adjustment. The doctors say the damage is permanent. The electromagnetic pulse from the counter-ritual essentially burned out my optic nerves. But I found I can still contribute to astronomical research through data analysis and theoretical work. The university has created a new position for me, Senior Analyst for Anomalous Astronomical Events. I spend my days interpreting data that others collect, looking for patterns that might indicate another ritual preparation. Elvira visits every morning to read me the overnight observations. She's taken over the night shift rotation, maintaining the vigil that keeps our world safe. Her atmospheric expertise has expanded into what she calls cosmic weather prediction, monitoring for the subtle signs that preceded our 3-day crisis. The morning readings are clean, she tells me now. Standard solar radiation, normal atmospheric composition, orbital mechanics within acceptable parameters. It's a beautiful day, Cairo. Clear skies, light wind from the southwest, temperature rising to 68 degrees. I nod, absorbing the information that has become my new way of seeing. Through Elvira's eyes, through instrument readings, through the careful analysis of data streams, I continue to watch the cosmos. Different than before, but no less meaningful. The ancient texts that Navarra discovered are housed in the university's special collection now, along with our complete astronomical records from those 3 days. Future researchers will have access to both the scientific data and the historical context. If when this happens again, they'll be better prepared, because it will happen again. The ritual cycle runs deeper than human civilization, older than our species' memory. We interrupted one performance, but the cosmic clockwork continues its ancient countdown. Somewhere in the star patterns, in the slow dance of celestial mechanics, the next conjunction approaches. But we'll be ready. We know what to look for now. We understand the warning signs. We've proven that human knowledge and determination can overcome impossible odds. The sun sets tonight at 7:23 p.m., exactly as calculated. I won't see it with my eyes, but I'll feel its warmth fade as Earth turns toward tomorrow's dawn. And tomorrow morning, at 6:48 a.m., it will rise again, 1 minute later than today because of our slightly altered orbit. 1 minute later, but it will rise. That's the promise we kept, the future we preserved. In a universe full of darkness, we chose to be the ones who bring back the light. The equipment is ready for tonight's observations, Elvira says, her voice carrying the quiet confidence I've learned to trust completely. The stars are waiting. Yes, the stars are waiting, and we'll be watching. And final log. Status: mission complete, vigilance ongoing. Recommendation: maintain continuous monitoring for ritual precursor events. Personal note: called Mom this morning. She says the neighborhood dogs have finally stopped howling. Even the animals know we're safe. For now. Final entry: the Riverside Municipal Observatory was rebuilt and reopened 18 months after the event. The new facility includes the Torrick Lane Memorial Wing, housing the world's first center for cosmic threat assessment. Dr. Elvira Quill serves as director. Dr. Cairo Van continues as senior research analyst. The night shift is never unmanned. The stars never lie. They simply wait for us to learn how to listen.